everyone, welcome back to another video with Arduino. From our previous video, you may have seen this remote. This was used for the robot car, and you may have been wondering, how do we make projects with the robot car and using this remote? How does it work? What are the functionalities, and what are some other projects we can make with the actual Arduino and breadboard? Well, I'm happy to say that this is the remote for my Arduino breadboard, which I found in my Arduino starter kit. It has multiple buttons, way more than this. It has the numbers and these on the side. And what we're going to be doing today is taking a quick look at this remote, some of its functionalities, how it works, making a small project with it. And in the next video, we're going to make something a lot more complex, possibly using clicking a certain button, and it corresponds to a certain function. So let's learn more about this remote right now. Before we get started, we need a very important piece. This is what's called an IR module receiver, and basically what happens is, like we reviewed in the previous video, when you press a button, there is a signal, and you can see a light in here. That's how you tell if the remote is working. So what would happen is you click it, the signal travels, hits this, and then here is what receives the message and corresponds to the function stated in the code. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to follow that logic. We're going to connect this to the Arduino. If we, for example, let's say press 1, it will represent the code or the signal in text form that we can understand and accurately use to implement into our program. All right, so with our IR signal detector, what we're going to have is our Arduino board, and then make sure to follow this circuit diagram, which I'll also display on screen if you can't catch it. Make sure that it lights up like this, and you just follow this diagram so you see that it's in the order of red, white, and then black. Okay, so what happens is the black corresponds to 11, white corresponds to 5V, and the red corresponds to ground. So if it's in this orientation, make sure that you connect the first wire on the leftmost side to the number 11, to pin 11, the middle one, which is white, to 5V, and then the rightmost one, or the red one that you see on here, to ground. Alright, so I'll also show this on the circuit diagram so that you can see this better. Make sure this lights up. And so now let's hop on the computer to look at the circuit diagram. Alright, so now we're on the same website, walkwe.com, like I've been on my previous videos. So essentially what we're doing here is we're just connecting the module, the IR receiver, and make sure that it matches properly. If you come here and just search up IR receiver, here it is. Drag it out, and it should match with GND, matches the ground, VCC, 5 volt, whatever. And also don't forget to drag out the IR remote, which you can bring out over here. So we have our thing right here. Include this IR remote.h. This is important. Do not forget, if you're on Walkwe or even if you're on the Arduino, come down to tools, where is it? Manage library. Should take a little bit, just like in the previous, but also with the not only the Arduino. See, here's the library, and then you just type in IR remote into the search bar right here when it loads. So just then it would show up. But you can also, for this thing to X out, you can come over here, library manager. You see I already added it, but just type in IR remote. And then you can just click this and download it, and it saves it to your installed libraries. Okay, so now let's get back to the thing. So I'll paste this code in the description so that you can see this for yourself. But essentially what's happening is it's connected to 11, which is the pin that's receiving it. We're setting up the IRN. We're allowing serial communication like we saw um, with the motion detector, the serial.begin, which is very important for these different modules. And then right here, this is important as well. If we detect a signal from the IR remote, then what we want to do is display the hex of the remote. So we want to display what the signal is in kind of like text so that we can understand it. We want to wait 100 milliseconds like we saw and then continue with the next signal that comes in. So now let's start the simulation. You see that the timer is going. Let's say I want to click 1. This is what I get. So this is the signal that the remote is sending to this module for the when I press the button 1. Now 2, 3, 4. So these are all different signals in hexadecimal that the module receives when we click these different buttons. And what's super cool is, let's say if I wanted to make a light shine every single time I click 8, take this hexadecimal number and use an if statement to say that if I click this button, then something so and so will happen. So we can use conditionals like we saw in the last few videos. All right, so if that doesn't work for you, here's another alternative. What I did here is basically the same thing. Make sure you have the irremote.h library, which you can get coming to tools and then manage libraries like I showed before. I set the variable receive to be pin 13, but in my Arduino it's actually 11, so make sure to change that if that applies to you. What else you need to do is set these variables up. I receive, receive as the output and results. Serial.begin 9600 allows serial communication, which I went over in the previous example, and we want to enable IRIN. Now we come down to the loop. What essentially happens is if you get a signal, from the IR remote, what's going to happen is that it's going to print the hexadecimal value of that signal so that it's kind of in a text that you can understand. And then once it gets that signal, all you have to do is just resume. So essentially what's going to happen is if you go to tools, serial monitor, what will happen is it will show you the hexadecimal value, just like if we came to here, just like this. That's going to be it for today's video. We experimented with the IR remote and the infrared signals. We created a small project, and if you would like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. So that's going to be it. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next